Good morning. So, any question from yesterday's lecture? Or what I was thinking, let's write a question now. Do you have a pen and paper? I'll write a question here, you have to write an answer. That would be on the basis of what we have studied yesterday. It has nothing to do with any book. I am talking about whatever we discussed in the lecture is what we are going to write. So, obviously, you cannot say that I do not know what to write, right? Okay. And anyway, even if you are not done yesterday's lecture also, it is that straightforward and simple. Okay. So the question goes like this: what do you think motivates a person to act morally? Okay. How can these points of motivation be inculcated in a civil servant? This is for 10 marks. You have to write in 150 words, and you have not 7 but 10 minutes. Ideally 7, but for now you can have 8 to 10 minutes, not an issue. Got the question? Any problem in question? What do you think motivates a person to act morally? How can these points of motivation can be inculcated in a civil servant? Do you think it's something alien that you are not studied, you don't know? There might be different answers. Take it, consider this like a small, very small essay topic. Maybe, right? So like that you can write. Okay? हो गया होगा अभी तो. You have to write only for 10 marks, not an essay. I just said that essay, like, just to start off with, think it as an essay. You are not required to write an essay. Okay, 10 minutes to ho hi gaye. You have only 7 minutes actual mein, but it's okay. Slowly you can improve your speed. So, okay, what was the main points that you wrote? Anybody? One by one, like 1 point each. If you can have online folks also, you can also type. Yes, one by one. Only one, because others also, there are only limited points. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Yes. Okay. What motivates? Motivates क्या किया? So welfare is what? Yes. Okay. Anybody? Spirit of service. No, the question was what motivates a person is one question. Okay, there are 3, 4, 5, 6 factors, whichever, and how it can be inculcated, the methods. What can be inculcated? Nahi. How it can be inculcated. Okay, got it now? Okay, anybody else? No, see, every morality is expressed in a situation only. There is no morality that is not expressed in a situation or expressed in some other way, obviously. But what motivates him or her to act in that way in that situation? That's the question. Yeah, exactly. But then role model is basically for what? Social satisfaction. Yes, sense of collectivism, as Jyoti is mentioning here. Yes. Yes. Conformation, conformity. Yeah. So this is C. Now conformity and sanctions is okay, but it is more towards ethicality and to some extent legality. Like, see, if I am doing it because somebody else may punish me, is not morality, it's legality. Please try to understand this. Ethicality, any decision is ethical, it has to be ethical from inside, right? So that's why duties, okay, duty is what sense of duty you have. Now, this was the question also. Once the question had come, what is the difference between ethics and law? Anyway, we are going to, today's topic is that only, sense and other dimensions of ethics. But now that topic, because anyway that is the topic. So the legality is what? Legality is an instrument. Like I'll tell you, when a democracy is what we expect in society. Democracy is a value also. Yes or no? But then election process is that instrument, actual material physical instrument to achieve that. So when it enforced, mostly what is law? It is a enforceable codification of moral expectation of that time, basically. Yeah. So whatever morally is expected is enforced by some agency, becomes law. But not every small thing can be enforced. That's why not every small thing is part of law. Okay. क्या चीज? Super retribution. See, again, retribution is also, it's a way of, okay, you retribute means what? It's always in return of something. Something happened, retribution happens. That is religion, not morality. See, what you are saying is not wrong. These are the external instruments through which person does ethical act only. But that's the difference. What's the difference between the religious dictates and moral dictate? I do it because otherwise inside me, forget about God, forget about the police. मुझे ही अच्छा नहीं लगता. That is ethicality, morality. That's the difference. Religion, tomorrow religion, see, if you do not do this, religion may sanction you otherwise also. That fear is also there. Now, God is generally, what you are saying is not absolutely wrong. God is generally used like that central point to which you anchor these moral aspects to. What you are talking about, religious morality, but morality is not necessarily religious. It can be secular morality. There is something called secular morality. There is something called constitutional morality. It's not religious morality, right? The human nature of person motivates. No, the nature of person is not what motivates. Nature of person is what gets reflected once the person does ethical moral act. So what is nature of a person? Nature of a person is nothing but what others collectively read about the behavior of the person. Okay, do you think I read my own nature? It is from outside I get my nature. हम बोलते हैं ना कि उनका जो स्वभाव ऐसा है, वृत्ति ऐसी. But when, see, unless there is a conscious decision making, there is no ethicality. Conscious decision making means from inside. Compassion for others. See, compassion itself is an ethics or ethical value. My question was, what motivates one to do the compassion? Please try to understand. See, in ethics paper, and this is a very likely kind of question. These kind of questions have come many times. This is a very likely kind of question, and I am pretty sure that there is no problem of content, as in there is no problem of you knowing or not knowing. It's just matter of how to write, what to write. Like, if I tell you the answer, which most of you, whatever you have said, 70-80% is correct only. but then we feel that it's not an answer. What is there? It's just some simple points. That's exactly the point. Simple points. The only thing is you need to have vocabulary a little bit, and you need to be able to express. Okay. Now, first, because it is about answer writing, I would like to tell you about little bit about structuring. When it is about 10 marks, how many pages do you have? 2. 15 marks ethics में होता नहीं. 20 marks case study हो गया. Theory में 20 marks तो आता नहीं है. So basically it is 10 marks. Case study you just keep it. It's altogether different game, because there is this thumb rule. I think in the orientation lecture we talked about. Case study is not a question to be answered. Case study is not a question to be answered. It is a situation to be responded. And this you keep in mind, because then only you will be able to understand how I am going to respond to it. Otherwise you will like, what are the points? I'll write the answer. No, it's not an answer. And that's why many case studies, there would be different format also required. Required as in called for. Automatically, if you think that as a situation, you know how to write it. And that's why many people write different, draw some diagrams. Sometimes they will write this stakeholder objectives, whatever. Sometimes they will use something. I'm talking about the answer sheets which have got good marks. Because it depends on the case study. You can draw a picture also if you want, if the case study calls for, case study demands it. Because it's a case study. And some case studies are actually not a case study, they are GS questions. Issue of migration, issue of crime against women. There was one of the question that come, and how in the form of case study they will ask this kind of question. Of late they have reduced, of late they have asked typical case studies only. Initially some years they used to ask general social issue like a case study. Okay, anyway, let's come back. So you have 2 pages. So when it comes to answer writing, my method is you should be able to imagine where and what you're going to write, and it is possible. As you practice more, then only you will be able to finish all the points, touch all the points, multifacetedness of answer in given time. Because this is 10 marks. You don't have time to elaborate everything. Most of the time you just list. It's like, actually if you see that way, 10 marks answer is nothing but just index of your answer. What would you write in 10 marks? Tell me. It's just not even how many, 150 words means what? Hardly this much. This much most likely. If somebody has a very different kind of handwriting which needs a lot of space, it may go till here. You need to work upon these things also. Don't just keep on writing, and then this is exactly what happens with many. That initially 3-4 answers they write like perfect according to them, and then they realize these 4 answers only I have taken 1 hour. Then I have 6 case studies to solve. Then they will go to the case studies, jump, and then case studies, 1 or 2 case studies they will solve very meticulously each and every detail, and take a lot of time there. Now only 4 questions are over, 2-3 case studies are over, and 2 hours are gone. Now rest, and you talk to anybody who has especially given first mains, they will be having the similar experience. The basic reason is you are not actually targeting what exactly is asked, write that much and only and go ahead. You get stuck there. I want to write more about it. And this happens with ethics. If you write first paragraph, then you realize I have so many points to write now, because brain works like that. So for that, the method is like you give 1 minute for thinking. Don't write anything for 1 minute, 60 seconds. You just read and think. This method 1 + 6, whatever you want to, 1 minute plus 6 minutes. You have 7 minutes for 10 marks. 1 minute you just think. Think means what? What to do in thinking. So first, and this is not the first time you will hear these things from me many times in coming days, because this is, according to me, is the most important thing in getting better marks. Obviously, becoming better human being, that's anyway that also I'll take care. But the most important thing is covering the paper. You talk to anybody who has covered the ethics paper who had got good marks. Without covering paper, you are not going to get good marks. And you cannot cover all the paper if you keep on writing all the pages available that are there for you. Some questions we just finish that much because you have that much knowledge. Most of the time we write that is not part of the answer, you think it is part of the answer, and what happens? You waste time. You waste that time, and perhaps some other question of which you might have had better answer, you not write it, you don't get time to write it. Yes. So the most important thing is your answer, not all but most of the answers, especially in ethics, should have some subheading. Why? Because subheading conveys to the evaluator that you have touched upon all the points that the question has asked. I'll tell you, do this experiment. Take any of your friends' answer, 2-3 friends, okay, or co-aspirants, whatever, and try to read the answer which does not have subheadings, and try to read the answer which have subheadings in the form of, or in with the intention of evaluating it. You will understand the difference. Only because of the person having appropriate subheadings, obviously. What happens? You tend to assume and understand and think, which is the correct thing also, that the person has written points as compared to somebody who has just written one after the other. Okay, but there would be some questions slightly non-typical. Maybe there you are not required to write, but in ethics that too. In optional, I vehemently advise that without subheading, you create subheading and write, because subheading helps you also. I'll tell you how. Subheading helps you also as to monitor where my answer is heading. Otherwise, you start somewhere and end somewhere, and then there is no link. Okay. So, for example, what is this question? No, there would be some introduction. Now, what is introduction here? Mostly the broad idea that you're going to talk about. Okay, some people don't like introduction, no problem. 1 or 2 line doesn't make much difference. It won't take much time. Actually, introduction is for your own. See, you need to understand the psychology of the 3 R's. The way brain functions. You might know things, but you will not get. Those things won't come to your mind while writing the answer. The moment you are out of the hall, you're like, I forgot to write that particular aspect. I knew. Why? Because you do not give time to think. You just keep on writing, and then after some time you realize, okay, the space is finished, 150 words are finished, next question I have to go for, and then you realize I had 2-3 more points to write. Then some people घुसाओ those points somewhere possible. Okay, इधर एक ऐसे करके 3 लिख के कर दिया, which is okay. That's a firefighting mode. What can we do? At least better than not writing it, right? So then subheading. Now, as the question goes, now today because it's the first question, it's taking more time. Later, every time I'm not going to explain. I just go to the subheadings and all. What do you think motivates a person to act morally? What would be the first subheading? Okay, good. Introduction to, what would be the first subheading? Not introduction, first subheading. Yes. Factors motivating. And this much only you can write. No need to write the whole thing. They understand what factor, whose factor, and factor for what. If you have time, factors motivating a person to do ethically. No, they are asking factors. I am writing factors. Okay. This much also is enough. If you want to write, there are different ways of writing it. Motivations for ethical action. Okay. Points of motivation, factors of motivation, whichever way you want to write. Okay. Then you will write some points here. What would be the second subheading? Oh, sorry. Okay. How can these points be inculcated? That means what would you write? The ways, the methods, whichever way you want to use it. Somewhere here. Methods or ways for inculcating or of inculcation. right? And then you will conclude something. Now conclusion is also, the conclusion is a place you take whole liberty, especially in ethics, right? Whatever you think is relevant to the question, and it can be anything. You can write, some example depicting the same thing. You can write some futuristic point of view. You can write about administration becoming ethical is the greatest thing that can happen to India. Anything that is about all your creativity. It's like, and if you practice more answer writing, this would be the easiest stuff for you, the conclusion. You will have 2-3 conclusions at a time for one answer, and you can choose that much if you practice. Just imagine how much confidence you will have. Otherwise people will like, I don't know what to write in conclusion. Now there are some people also have this doubt that as to why to follow this intro, main body, conclusion. No problem. But this is, it's like, some systematizing, some formatting of the answer. If you don't want to format, it is not proven, that UPSC has asked everybody to write in this particular format. But it is neither proven that writing it is going against. So better, and it helps us only mentally also. I know what I am writing, where I am ending. Otherwise, when you conclude the answer, you yourself feel that okay, now my answer is over. I am concluded the answer, right? Now, what are the factors motivating? Now, as I said, there are many factors, and most of the factors that you yourself also told about. Okay, I have my own. You can add to this. What you said is also correct answer. I am telling you. Don't replace. It's not a technical subject. Yes, you can rephrase them. Okay, when you say legality, enforceability, then these are not. Okay. First thing is, according to me, is conscience, which motivates the person to act morally. It tells from inside. You do right, otherwise there will be problem inside you. So conscience, which it's a most effective instrument in a way. It's a compass, Now here what you can write, or you can write as a one statement only. Conscience, which acts as a internal compass which guides human being to do the right thing, and it's not just guides but pushes, motivates to do the person to right, to do the right. Because conscience, that is acting ethically, is also pleasant feeling. Because not acting according to your conscience is unpleasant feeling. So it motivates from inside. Second, which most of you talked about, is social recognition or appreciation, whatever you want to call it. So this is there, like you act good, people are going to appreciate, and that is also a pleasant feeling. Okay, the secret of this is not nothing about answer, it's in general I am saying, acting morally, yes, acting morally or acting whatever, everything you do it for experiencing some pleasantness in life. Do you agree? Everything that you do it for pleasantness. Do you agree? This is irrespective of the answer ethics, I am just talking about normally. Do you agree? Anything you do, even a smallest possible act that you do, the motivation behind is either experience the pleasantness or to avoid the possible or anticipated unpleasantness. You don't do anything other than this. The only difference, you're getting my point? Basically अगर हिंदी में बोले तो सब जो भी करते हैं अच्छा लगने के लिए करते हैं, या तो बुरा ना लगे इसलिए करते हैं. So if you're doing it for what? Experiencing pleasantness or avoiding unpleasantness. So you have nothing to counter to this, I'm asking. You have nothing to counter. Like, don't you think it has become very like, I'm doing anything which makes me feel better. How? Do you act when you feel neutral? Or for acting neutral, do you act anything when you know that you're going to be neutral? So why would you act? And give me an example. And see, why do you follow the rule? To feel neutral or not following will be a problem. Because neutrality is death. When you are neutral means technically you are dead. In the sense, you are not your neutral means you are not active, and when you are not active means you are not doing any action. So every action is non-neutral technically. Okay. So why I am telling you this is, please you also, again this has nothing to do with answer or ethics. In general I am saying, don't put yourself, if small act also you are doing, please understand that you are doing it for yourself. Now yourself means may not be material interest of myself, maybe conscience interest of myself, moral interest of myself, but it is myself. So there won't be any sense of unnecessary moral, what we can say, moral superiority, that I am doing it. You are not doing it for anybody else, you are doing it for making you feel better. Only thing is, now you are getting the point. Now every human being is a machine. Artificial intelligence is anyway proving it. Only thing is, we have to program machines in such a way that the experience of pleasantness for that particular person is, for the moral and spiritual aspect, is more than experience of pleasantness for material aspect. And that's what exactly morality is trying to do, spirituality is trying to do. Means a member of the society should feel much better experiencing that kind of pleasantness than this kind of pleasantness. समझ में आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा है? So society need to program individuals in such a way that spiritual non-material kind of pleasantness is more looked for, more strived for than material kind of pleasantness. And this is exactly what materialism versus spiritualism, non-materialism is. That's the reason when we talk about morality, without we realizing it, we slip into spirituality. Now, spirituality, I know you have a different understanding, and obviously we also don't have time to explain you what exactly spirituality is. Whatever understanding you have, keep it with you. Only thing is, when I say spirituality, you should not take into consideration those who are acting as if they are spiritual but they are not. I'm not talking about fake babas. That are part and parcel of, again, materialism only. I'm talking about real spirit. Anyway, coming back to the point. Then third is sense of larger good. Somebody said this point, no, collectivism. So this is how we are trained, that when सबका भला हो जाता है, हमें भी अच्छा ही लगता है basically, unless it pains a lot to me. Now that depends on your situation. If you are somebody like Mahatma Gandhi, even if there is so much of pain that you yourself are going through, you still do good for others. Or so many other thinkers that other leaders we know. Even even rational thinking motivates you to act morally. You know why? Like justice. We saw in the yesterday's example, when you think logically and rationally, you can't but be just. Because you see, what is equality is a very rational concept. You know what is equal, what is not equal. You can see straightforward. But the only point is, when equality is going against me, I may not follow it. Otherwise, you know what is right, what is wrong. But most of the time what happens, even if one person says that this is right, like for example, reservation in India, some people think that it is right thing to do, some people think that it is wrong thing to do. Now, most of the people who are not in the support of reservation before they start their UPSC preparation, or especially sociology optional, anthropology, philosophy optional, most likely political science, after reading that, most likely they become supporters of reservation. Why? Because they get proper way of thinking about what justice is. Initially, their understanding of justice is very superficial. So when you go in depth in anything, you tend to be more ethical. And obviously, this more and more rational, more and more ethical. You're getting the point? Making sense? All other points that you also said as collectivism are one or the other format of this thing. right? Now, how can these motivations be inculcated? Oh, sorry, things be inculcated? Yes. Yeah. You can write inspiration from ideal, okay, some other personality inspires you to do it. Yes. Or you can say inspires, or what we can say, others morals behaviors, you are saying. Yes. Others moral behaviors. Yes. Because this we yesterday also we discussed, if you remember, one morality has a cascading effect to the other. Yes. So others moral behavior, you can say that moral actions, or others character also. Like when you look at Swami Vivekananda, when you look at Mahatma Gandhi, you feel that I should also do something great, and we have so many examples of patriotism. Just reading book on Bhagat Singh, feel at least for 3-4 days you are like completely into it, and which is a good thing, because, and I'll tell you, this is also one thing. People think that only impact remains for 3-4 days. No, that spike of impact remains for 3-4 days, but there is a permanent impact for sure. It happens like that. That's the reason you have to work upon. We have to work upon society together to slowly make it more and more ethical. But this, the biggest problem of ethicality, biggest enemy of ethicality today is materialism. Proper ideology of materialism means what? There is nothing but matter in the world. Let me enjoy before I die. Charvak. And many modern Western philosophers, also logical positivists and others. But Charvak is the classic case, because their materialism goes or slips into hedonism. There is something called hedonism, means pleasure is everything. So, or we have this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, 4 purusharthas, of which only kam is considered to be the purushartha, rest all is all bakwas. So, that is actually anti-morality. Okay, and it starts with a philosophical understanding of materialism. That's why many people are saying, because heavens are falling, because religion is dying, because spirituality is getting doubted, so much of exploitation is happening, not just about other human beings, but also about nature. This might be the part of this might be the question for you in coming days, when with respect to materialism. This also I am expecting, like, how materialism has to be kind of contained, if not denied completely. But the science, this is the problem. Science doesn't give answer as to why. Science gives answer as to what and how. So whenever, like for example, if you are completely scientific, whenever situation comes, secular morality is there. But whenever situation comes which might be very, very pressing, there is no enough force for you to regulate. This happens with what example you gave yesterday about your own discipline. But if somebody else has given discipline like this, and class starting 8:30 discipline, automatically you will follow. I will also follow, because this is commitment I have given to someone else. But if I have written I will get up at 5 o'clock, I may not get up at 5 o'clock. So you need authority whenever there is dilemma in life. That's why, that's how religion used to work before. God is there, that's all. I have to be, even if normally I follow it, but God is used as that instrument to make me do ethical things. Okay, coming back. Yes. Commitment, see, generally it has nothing to do with morality and ethics, but the results of commitment are generally good things, because you can be committed to terrorism also. It's actually a non-ethical, or what we can say, ethical term, because it depends on, but the only thing about, good thing about commitment is it brings in consistency. Others know what you're going to do because you're committed. So it depends on what aspects you're committed. And for one, society society needs consistency, this. If they know, if Osama bin Laden is committed to destroy America and declared that way, no problem. At least everybody is aware that he is going to do something wrong. So, commitment in that way is a positive thing in our normal parlance, because we assume that you are committed to something positive. Okay, but like if you talk about patriotism, it is positive, because I have love for country means whom? I have love for my country means I have love for whom? Yes, anybody other than me. So other aa gaya to ethics aa gaya. So any positive orientation about others, efforts to reduce the pain of others, efforts to enhance the quality of life of others is ethics. Commitment is very self point of view thing. It depends on what you are committed to. But normally it is a positive thing to have, because even if you are doing anything, if you are committed, you will do it better. Obvious baat, right? Now, methods for inculcation. Any any points here in this particular context? Yes. But no, how would you inculcate this motivation? This is the question. Fear of law, okay, to some extent enforcement of ethicality. Law is what? Enforcement of ethicality. Okay, but see, what you are saying now is, there is this behavior, okay, doing X. Now the doing this X can be by two ways. Yes, I might do myself because I think it is right thing to do, or I would do it so that some other interest of mine is at stake. Maybe my promotion, maybe my image, whatever. Okay. So when it comes to the other side, it is more inclined towards legality. Enforcement means legality. I am not saying that law doesn't help. It helps, because what happens when law is there, after some time that law becomes internal value system for you. That ye to nahi karna hai. No, I would not do it. But in a civil servant, how do you bring these motivations? Please try to understand. Law to anyway is there. Law regulates. Some law might motivate, because some laws are inspiring, like sumo to action need to be taken. But again, those are guidelines, more like a guidelines. My question is, how these things can be inculcated in a civil servant? Yes, just 1 minute, because training. But yes, but training is a very general thing, which is correct thing. In training, what exactly is what? Training also would be a good point here, but slightly vague. Sensitization about the problems to generate compassion. So, in training, sensitization about basically problems of weaker section, especially compassion oriented point here. Or basically what you are talking about is what we are doing now is also motivation. That is educating people about ethicality and morality. What you are doing now, which inspires, because you bring clarity. Rational thinking comes into more and more aspects and information given to you. Part of training only. Now within training, you educate about, this itself is, if you write this point, this is like saying that what you people, that is UPSC, doing with this, having this paper, it's a good thing. It's what exactly saying like that. Educating about the literature or things on ethics is itself motivates person to do ethical, because they don't, most of the time we don't even know something like this. You might have very not so very intense feeling about it, not so very intense but inclination about it, but when you read it, you get it very amplified, and you are again motivated to do it, right? The best way which we have been doing is examples, which you talked about, inspiring. Here, inspiring other person, like getting inspired by other persons. So those who have dedicated their lives for the nation and for the people, educating about their examples, basically autobiographies and things like that, or many other ways, and that's what we do. Bachpan se why we have been so much ethical about what are the biggest contributor about biggest contributor in your mind for you becoming more ethical and patriotic and social oriented is many leaders that we have read about in history, in literature books, in stories, right? So examples of such people and groups who have been ethical, educating about the people who have been ethical. So sensitization about the issue, and then educating about ethicality or ethics basically. Third, yes. So you can say here educating about ethics, or maybe their responsibility if you want to write, okay. Especially civil servant, responsibility becomes very important value, that is correct. Okay. No, वही मैंने बोला ये सब ट्रेनिंग में ही आएगा, but just training won't be a, it would be only simple word. Point is how do you do that? Like for example, if I'm asking how to prepare ethics, okay, and you are saying study, good, study hard, okay, that is correct, but what exactly I should study is what question is, right? No, see, this is very, this exactly happens with ethics. Most of the time we feel that usme kya hai, what, there is nothing, but there is, and you have to bring out those things. Team building measures to enhance collectivism, yes. So what she is saying, team building exercise. So what you can say is you can simulating or simulation activities. You know, one thing is telling personally, I mean through words, through books, but some simulation case study kind of activities also helps, and that also happens in whatever we are writing is what happens in Masuri, obviously, once you join. Some of it maybe, because obviously they will, now this education is happening here now. Awareness, you go there, you get to know about many people. Awareness about, this is about personalities, right? Ethical, moral personalities or great personalities, whatever you want to call them. And education about responsibility. Then simulation activities or case study activities, that also helps. This helps, this is very small aspect, but at least this helps in a some or the other way. Then rewarding the ethical. See, reward is not legal thing. When you reward, it's not about legality, it's not about enforcing, it's about motivating. Very good, you did a good job, let everybody do it. Don't you think if good thing is rewarded, you know, it is again inspiring others to do good thing. Now you might say they are doing it for reward. See, it's not just for reward. What they realize is they are not rewarding only the person, they are rewarding the act. They are rewarding the ethicality behind the act. So they understand, okay, doing this also is a great thing. Obviously, one of these features only will function there, but rewarding is a different method to do it. Reward means giving some award for some great work that person has done, right? And civil service award is the best. You know that many people get award in, you know, some health system improvement, education system improvement, implementation of some particular project type. Okay? Then how would you conclude? This I'll leave it to you. In the sense, so many things we have discussed, you can conclude anything. You can write about Gandhi, you can write about Ramayana, Mahabharata, you can write about some story, you can write about general ethicality, You can write about what we just talked about, more ethicality is all about society becoming more and more or less and less material oriented and more ethical, moral, spiritual oriented. The whole efforts to make not just civil servant ethical, but the whole society ethical. Civil servant is the steel frame of India. So if civil servant is becoming ethical, whole society is most likely or most effective instrument to make it ethical. So many different ways to write. You just conclude, because this is just additional point that you want to write, which you think is relevant here substantially. You want to say something? Yeah. Yeah. See, again, training, this all things can happen, starting career, mid career, or wherever. Because see, the training itself is there. When to have the training is not an issue here. What are those instruments that you will do? Training, see, as I said, training is obviously the thing. In fact, everything will happen except this award thing, the last thing that I talked about, reward. Most of the things will happen through training only. Okay. There is a training, and in that training also they will do the same thing. They will bring out the case studies, they will ask your experiences, then again motivate for the good work, everything same thing. Training is a package in which all these things happen. Okay. Now, how do you, after kind of understanding the context of as to what and how answer should be written, how do you rate your answer now? Like, what do you think? What was the problem? What was the good thing? I did not even write, sir. Forget. मैंने लिखा ही नहीं. ऐसा कोई है? कुछ तो लिखा. What about word limit? Everybody wrote enough, like 2 pages at least, or anybody wrote more than that? That is also a problem. Should not write more than that. Okay, anybody wrote point wise? Yes, it helps. Point wise also helps to us. Forget about marks, because in segregated points, every point is a separate message. You don't repeat same thing again and again. In fact, we have been evaluating copies now for many years now, not just ethics interview and all. Sorry, optional. What happens is, if it is written like a big paragraph, the first impression is that perhaps it won't have more than 1 or 2 points. That is the reason this person has written only in paragraph again. The perception is somebody who is writing point wise means he has some extra stuff. Point wise means he or she is perhaps having 1 or 2 points and just writing like a story. Some questions you would be required to write like that, because obviously no situation will come that any aspirant having all the knowledge of all the questions, or enough knowledge or very good knowledge of all the questions. Some questions you will be required to write again and again. In that case, what I prefer is write just 3 points and finish. Why are you wasting your time writing again and again? Okay, that will come as we write more and more answers. Right? By the way, whatever we discussed today, even we are discussing through the answer also, is what we are going to discuss as a part of today's this thing, that is essence of ethics. So I am sure you will be able to understand and kind of gauge your own answer after listening to the answer that we discussed. Okay. Right. So essence of ethics. What do you, now this is what syllabus point is, to be very honest, very not so very representative of what they are asking since 2013, because they have never asked what are essence of ethics. Write short note on essence of ethics, they have not asked, and they are not going to ask. Neither that they are going to ask what are the determinants of ethics. No, those syllabus point is there. They are not going to ask. If they ask something like that, then you can come to me, because that they are not going to ask like that. What are the consequences of ethics? Because it is not typical theoretical paper. See, if it was typical, don't you think this question by now would have been there? What are the determinants of ethics? Yes, because it's a part of syllabus. But have they ever asked? Why? So what are they expecting? First of all, I am expecting again that everybody has at least once gone through the question paper, just like that. What are the questions? You know, if you are saying no, then please don't do that. Do it, at least go today and just go through the question papers. Yeah, I'm not even asking about writing, and just read what they're asking, because ethics is like, as I said, the two things that you can fall back on and take support of is one, syllabus that ethics UPSC has given, and the question paper that ethics. Otherwise, there is no other way to decode ethics as to what might come. Obviously, when we prepare, don't you think that we should know at least some sense of prediction as to what can question, what question can be there, what kind of question would be there on the basis of current affairs? Because if you know, and it's such a simple exercise, do you think it's a tough exercise? You just take the question paper, you get compiled thing, you get on the internet, you get the question papers on UPSC website, just read what they are asking. So please do it if you are not done it till now, because that would save a hell lot of time of yours. Otherwise, you know what you are going to do, you will read some 150 pages, 80 pages, 60 pages of some theory of ethics, which is never going to be asked, never ever going to be asked. And if at all they ask, maybe one question once in 3 years, maybe that. Abhi tak nahi pucha. We have they used the word Immanuel Kant's deontological aspect? We have been studying since 2013. Okay, John Stuart Mill's and Bentham's utilitarian aspect is different than deontological aspect. Give examples. This is not ethics optional. This is ethics simple. So don't get into, because you will get the material like this much material talking about this, what I'm talking about. Rather than spending your time, wasting your time, I would say you should invest your time in reading UPSC's question papers maybe 10 times. You'll get a different sense. And it's easy stuff. And then it will make sense to you what I'm talking about here, teaching here. I'm hoping that it is still making sense now. Okay, otherwise you would have asked many questions by now. But if at all there is doubt, once you go back to UPSC question paper, you understand, okay, why, then you understand why we are studying what we are studying, in the way we are studying, examples, questions, answer writing, simple things, day-to-day examples, because that's what you're going to write in examination. Not some big theory book, nothing which is going to come from there. Yes, if you're reading it just for sake of understanding, you can. But that much understanding, that much detailed understanding is also not required, not going to be asked. Right? So what do you understand by essence of ethics? Okay. So importance, somebody said sources, and what do you understand? I'm not asking what it is by some particular thinker, or whatever you understand by essence of ethics. Functions, what it does, right? Scope, yes, why, basically why, yeah. Okay, constituents, I mean parts of which ethics is made of. Anything else? Objectives, okay, with what expectations? Okay, so you are saying chronology or history. Application, okay, you can say. What is the meaning of word essence otherwise? No. Crux is okay. The word, yes. sense, okay. Sense is about, not about thing, about you, about your approach towards something. You have a sense or not. Sense is all about us, not about the thing. The essence is a, now see, in philosophy the word essence means some specific thing. Okay, have you heard this word essential? What is essential? That means if that is not there, that thing won't be there. Yes or no? Essence means the core of it, the basic of it, the fundamental of it. Means essence is the term where if it is not there, the whole thing that you are talking about is not. So what is the essence of ethics? You can say constituents, source. Now, why is the reason behind it? You can say that well, because ethics is a very abstract term. We are not, see, I am not going to tell you what is the essence, because they are not going to ask, I am not going to say. I am just asking you to think ethics from many different points of view. If you see that way, essence of ethics is moral and ethical values. If you have value, but from where the value come, why somebody takes that as a value, with how much commitment to that particular value, in what all expression you do that value. You think from your point of view. Honesty is a ethical value. What does that mean? What is honesty here? No, honesty is not doing right things. Honesty is something else. Okay, what is honesty? Not lying is okay, but what is lying then? Hiding things. So lying is hiding. So honesty is not hiding. So that's why honesty is generally taken very close to integrity. So there is oneness. What you know, what you speak, what you feel, what you speak, what you think, what you do. If you have oneness, you are honest. What else is honest? So, and why it is important? Because the whole problem that happens inside us, so-called psychological and other problems, is because there is no sense of oneness. Whenever there are two, there is a problem inside us. So ethics is, that's why the word integrity. So basically this oneness inside you is very important, which another word is integrity. But integrity is what gets reflected if you have oneness. You're getting the point? And you know what oneness is, that is whatever you think is right, if you are doing it, because as I said yesterday also, would you be doing anything that you think is wrong and still doing it with the same zeal? You might doing it for some other purpose, but when you know it is wrong, would you do it? Unless there is some other force which you think is right. But right and wrong, these are ethical things. The moment you say right and wrong, it's all about morality, by the way. Good and bad is different, right and wrong is different. Good and bad is all about utilitarian point of view. What is good for the society, what is bad for the society. Right and wrong is deontological point of view. Means it is right inherently. What it creates, I don't bother. What it comes with consequences with, I don't bother. Can't is exactly what how he is. That's why right and wrong word is coming from Kant's overall philosophy. Anyway, so essence of ethics means, see, if there are different ways of looking at it, like how, as she mentioned, how ethics has reached here, but they generally don't ask this question, because how initially the ethics was, they directly would ask about some concept of modern, ancient time. They can ask, what is the difference between, what is dharma according to you? They might ask tomorrow. And obviously, is dharma means moral conduct? And obviously we have to, now here don't intellectualize it and dharma because I have studied history or philosophy, dharma means this, of which moral conduct is one of the meaning. Okay, introduction you can write it for 1 2 lines, but ultimately you have to take it forward to ethical aspect only. Dharma means what? Now, what is dharma and ethics together? Same is law, same is the logic. Because dharma also means duty, but dharma also means law. And dharma also means, law means what? Not just legal, I mean our law. It means some scientific principle also is dharma. We say, the dharma of fire is to burn. Now this dharma is a basic characteristic of that fire. It's a truth, you cannot deny. You cannot expect that, I put my hands in fire and I feel very cold. Not going to happen. So, and going according to dharma means going according to the laws, natural laws and human laws. Getting the point? So that's why dharma also come into picture if they ask question tomorrow, I am saying. So dharma has to be seen from the point of ethical moral conduct. So it's like, normally when fire is there, what do you expect? It will burn. In the same way, if somebody is saying something, what do you expect? That's what he or she means. I am not saying about complexities. Complexities might be that he or may not understand what he or she is talking, might be the case, but there won't be any problem in intention. If there is a problem in intention, if there is doubt in intention, then would that thing would be any message for you? No, you will just discard it and try to read what she or, because the person is not honest. So being honest is being with dharma, because being dharma is being oneness. Being dharma is being integral to one particular thing, one particular truth. That's why dharma, truth, integrity, oneness, ethics is not very different from each other. Only thing is, they ask one, you take other things and write. And that's why dharma, artha, kama, moksha mein bhi, what is the message there? Calm is what you enjoy your life, the sense of enjoyment. Arth is the money basically, but the wealth and resources for that enjoyment. Yahan tak to sab karte hain. But dharma and moksha becomes very important, because while doing this, you have to follow some dharma. You cannot just keep on gathering and killing others. And best way would be to orient yourself towards moksha. Automatically you will be dharmic. Dharmic in the sense, not religious in the sense of ritualistic की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं. Dharmic as in, yes, law oriented, ethics oriented, right? This they might ask, because they in history they had asked this question about there was some history people might know, Riti, something like that, about what is custom and what is the eternal law, something like that, that art and culture people know. They had asked the question. They might ask, that was in history, not in ethics, but dharma obviously they can ask, very well they can ask, right? So what now, as I said, essence of ethics, as we have already discussed many times, lies in one thing, that is good to others. So if you apply all other things, like what is the objective of ethical action? To do good to others. Okay, how in history it has been, ultimately basic thought is the same, good to others, the golden rule that we talked about. Do unto others to what you want others to do upon you, do unto you. मतलब बाकियों के साथ ऐसा व्यवहार करिए जो आप चाहते हैं. There is this concept also, you might have heard, it's a quote only, you can say, you can write down also. These 3 words you just write down, you understand what I'm talking about. One is called Prakriti, second is Vikriti, third is Sanskriti. So Prakriti is when you're hungry and you eat eat your roti, eat your bread, whatever. It's a normal thing. There is no ethics here. Prakriti, if you're hungry, you'll eat. Vikruti is when even if you're not hungry, you'll eat from someone who is hungry. Snatch it from someone and eat it. That is Vikruti. And Sanskriti is when you are hungry, in spite of that, you give it to someone else. Maybe half at least, because you know that he or she is hungry. Now, this would be a good thing for you to use also sometimes. You can straight away use it with these words, by the way. Only thing is, don't write those words in Devanagari. Write in Roman only. Because your medium of language is English. So, at least Roman script should be followed. And in bracket, you should explain what is the meaning of that in English language. But these terms are very specific terms. You are anyway explaining. So, this is a good example where you say what is ethics, what is ethical, what is unethical, and what is aethical. If I am hungry, I am eating my food has nothing to do with ethics. This is the difference between action of a human and human action. You know this? Action of a human and human action. Syllabus का वही heading है ना? Ethics in human action, something like that they have in syllabus. So, action of human is every action that a individual human being, species, Homo sapien does. But human action is about whether it is ethical or unethical. Human action can be unethical also. Like, I have money, still I want to steal money from you is a human action, but it is unethical human action. I see that I can help this person, and somebody who is in some pain or something, or somebody, accident ho gaya and you're just walking by and you see somebody there, but you are not able to help, though you can manage the time later on. It's not that you are going for UPSC interview, which is the most discussed classic case. So, then if you are not helping it, you are lacking compassion somewhere. And by the way, this is the thing. We may feel that it is so, it is so obvious that you have to be compassionate. If I have nothing to lose, why don't I help others? People don't do that. That's why this concept called sadist is there. You know what is sadist? Somebody enjoys somebody else's pain. Forget about trying to, and it's a psychological disorder. I consider that as not psychological disorder, it's a philosophical disorder, because he has not understood what life is. That's why he could afford to be, enjoying somebody else's pain. This might be the case that somebody is in pain and you are not able to help at all. Like somebody is going through some physical pain because of some illness, accident, and you are not doctor. So obviously you feel so bad, but you cannot do anything about it. So, but you can take the person to the doctor or hospital. That much we can do, right? So reduction of somebody else's pain is certainly a compassionate act. Yes or no? So in fact, compassion basis is suffering. I mean, reducing suffering of someone. Reducing suffering of your own self is not compassion. That is your own. Among the three, me trying to reduce my own pain, Prakriti. But that, if I am doing by knowing fully that it might increase somebody else's pain, Vikruti. And in spite of my capacity to sustain pain for my efforts to reduce somebody else's pain, then obviously it's a Sanskriti, means basically it's an ethical act, right? So this terminology, it can help you in essay also. Okay. So essence of ethics is in others. Now it's very interesting. Gandhiji also talked about, no, instead of right, you focus on duty. So like it's like this. If you follow your duty, others will get their right. Why are you fighting for rights? Fight for duty, your own duty. Or people say morality is something to be done, not something to be expected. It is, see, if morality becomes expected, it becomes law. It can become ethics, but ethics also, when I know that others are expecting, hence I am doing, it is ethics. But I am expecting you to be moral, it is enforcement. Only thing is that enforcement might not be the, like for example, we also have some norms here. It's not legal norm, but it is a norm. So you follow something, why? For the sake of the group, yes. But even if sometimes you might follow it for the sake of the group, you might follow it because there might be CCTV. So you do it because CCTV is there, means it is enforced. CCTV is trying to enforce. But if you're doing it, no. When others do it, when others in the same situation behave in one particular way, I won't like it, so I won't do it. Right? So this is ethics only. See, ethics, and as we discussed in the last lecture also, most of the places it go interchangeably. When they ask specific difference between the two, we already know. Morality is all about individual inspirations from inside, very strong from inside only. Ethics is mixed. Basically, it is inside, but basically for outside. It's a group thing. So every group, that's why every group has their own ethics. So yes or no? Some groups, like if you are in friends group, something in that particular group, something may not mean insult. But the same thing, if you do it professional spheres, it is insult, and you know that, so you change yourself accordingly. Saying this is wrong in one place, saying this is other place it is right. But some these things are never to be considered right in any group, and that too you yourself feel commitment to that particular thing, then it becomes your morality. It is your morality. That's why you're thinking in that. Yes or no? Right? Yes, yes. See, Prakriti means it has nothing to do with ethicality and ethicality. I'm hungry, I'm eating my food, that's all. It is amoral. It had nothing. See, their thing can be moral or immoral. And the thing that is not falling under these two is called amoral. You cannot even apply morality there. Like I am, for example, I am taking away some small amount of oxygen now from the room. It is moral or immoral on my side, tell me. Amoral, because it's Prakriti. What can I do about it? Right? In fact, I'll tell you, most of the ethical dilemmas, it seems that when you see on first glance, it feels that it is a wrong thing. But when you go and understand what has happened, you understand, okay, it is Prakriti, leave it. That we give example of somebody who is hungry and snatching the bread from the shop. So it might sound, without knowing properly what's the situation, we name it unethical. He's stealing, and most of the time we do it. But then when we go in depth as to what happened exactly, whether he is physically and naturally pressurized to do this, yes he was, then it is immoral, amoral. Now, like for example, this, there are some diseases, if you are infected with that particular disease, you become violent. Okay, forget about that. These movies, zombie movies, if some zombie bites you, you also act like a zombie. Now when you act like a zombie, there is no conscious control that you have on your own behavior. So it is neither ethical nor not. It is dangerous for the society, but what can we do? That's why when a dog bites, is dog unethical? Do we punish? Do we see dog as an इसने गलत चीज की? हाँ, we try to find as to what extent it was my responsibility. Should I not been there? I shouldn't have been there at that particular time. Shouldn't I been doing something else to avoid that thing happening? Because dog has no conscience. Dog is not human. Dog doesn't fall under the category of human action. Dog falls under the category of action of human, like action of Homo sapien, action of dog. That is, we also do. But when it comes to, like, you might have seen these videos on YouTube also. Like, you're traveling through, like having a safari in a jungle, okay, and in front of you, you see a leopard has just attacked the deer, okay, and had some had a catch hold of the deer from backside, and deer is trying to escape, and you are sitting. So should you click the photo or should you run away or save the deer basically? Yeah. Should you save the deer or should you just click the photo? Why? But the point is, if you were at the place of deer, then do you expect that human sitting there enjoying my death? Then what is the problem in this proposition? Okay. See, I am sitting. This is what normally expected from me ethically. Okay. Instead of that deer, there is one tribal man. What would you do? Why? Man is expecting, okay, instead of tribal man, there is any of your friend there. In case ऐसा ना हो, but you are going and वो गिर गया. वो बात अलग है कि he will say that इसी ने push किया होगा. He might have pushed me inside, but that's another story. But if the deer is there, should we save the deer to be ethical? Yes. Okay. That's another story. That is okay. That imagine that is not going to happen. You are like completely covered and all that. Just for sake of understanding. No, there are situations where you can actually save, and there are videos. If you see, people do something, throw some stones, and because that poor leopard is also scared of the big vehicle that you are into, safari doing. So obviously they are also intimidated. So they will run away. They're like, okay, इनको जाने दो बाद में पकड़ लेंगे. So they'll go. But the point is it the point is, as the moment you landed in jungle and you are talking about animals, there is no ethicality. Your misplaced emotions might force you to save the deer. अरे ऐसे कैसे? Just imagine, instead of that deer, your own pet is there. Why are you saving that? Then also you are snatching the food of the leopard. You have emotions for pet, but then this is exactly what the quote was last year. Emotions, people mistake emotions for ethicality. Compassion is not emotion all the time. Every emotion is not compassion. Many people do the crime under the influence of emotion, for love for someone, hate for someone. So your pet is there, you are saving it, it is not an ethical act. It's like saving yourself. That's all. It has nothing to do with ethics there, because you are saving yourself there. Because emotion means what? You consider that to be your part. Otherwise, first of all, then you shouldn't have taken pet there. That was a mistake from your side. That was unethical part from your side. Because you might have gone there to, have a look at the jungle thing. But the pet had no interest in watching tiger. Pet had no interest in doing safari in a way. But yes, no, the pet is like your. So the point is, as the context changes, the same action looks like ethical, unethical. And for example, if the same leopard has come to Mumbai, it has been a big issue many times. IIT also it has been in Powai area, and it starts attacking your own cattle. It happens. Your dog, your cattle, your bakri, whatever. What would you do? Obviously, you save. But is it ethical? No. Again, you are saving your own resource, not doing it for someone else. Emotions is not ethics. Even Kant literally can't explain those things in such a great detail, Perhaps he was fed up of this argument that, emotions, ethics is emotions. Ethics is not emotions. Compassion is also not emotion in a way. People feel it like a emotion, but it is a philosophical understanding. Compassion always, you know this, compassion always between two people who are at the different power equation, capacity equation. There cannot be compassion between two equals. In fact, it won't be tolerated. If you help your friend not because of compassion, tell him that I help because I feel compassionate for you. He will say, "भाड़ में जाओ, किसी और से ले लूँगा." You cannot say your partner कि I am so compassionate for you. Compassion, equality में compassion लाएंगे तो equality, because the compassion immediately means somebody is up, somebody is capable, somebody is not capable. Empathy you can say, because empathy may just you feel the similar way, but the point is compassion. That's why in syllabus also they have written compassion for syllabus weaker section, because you have in fundamental duties of Constitution of India compassion for whom? Duty में vulnerable है. Women, no compassion for women. Modesty of women is different thing. Why you need compassion for women? No. Compassion for animals, if you read fundamental duties. Compassion for women नहीं होगा. Respect the dignity of women. No, see, there, no, I'm talking about fundamental duty. See, that is legal provision, not for individual. That is for state to do. State can do compassion, obviously. State is the most powerful. In front of state, women, men, everybody is weaker section. And weakest section is Dalits, women, tribals. That's why they have given that. I'm talking about your duty. Fundamental. See, when ethics paper, fundamental duty as part is more important than fundamental right. In fact, you should never talk about fundamental right in ethics paper, because ethics paper is all about duty. Obviously, there would be some reference you would be required to do from fundamental right also, Article 15, equality. But fundamental duty is compassion towards animals, because animals now have become weaker section, eternal weaker section in front of us, and they cannot do anything. So, compassion is not about the other sides, compassion is about me. Whether I am compassionate, and whoever I consider weaker than me, I have to have compassion, right? So, compassion means always there is a, what we can say, capacity or power mismatch or hierarchy in one way. Yes, you want to say something? Hierarchy in the sense somebody is above, somebody is below. Compassionate approach. That's why nowadays in some aspect of governance and society, people come up with rights based approach, not compassionate approach. I am equal, I want rights. Right is not compassion. It is a legal term, socio-political term. Then state is, state and individual, that most of you might have studied it, right? Okay. So what is the essence of ethics? Others, yes. Now I said, see, as we talked about this, your pet is being attacked, or some animal is attacked. So the point is, when not all the emotions that we mistake emotion as compassion. Okay, you want that but exactly quote? I'll just get the quote. It will be there. It came in 2000, some 19 or 20. I'll just get it. It will be there. That is quote of Aristotle, and they had asked us to explain what it means. It is a very complicated kind of quote, which actually mean that it's our problem to mistake emotion as ethicality. Including compassion is also not an emotion. Compassion is an understanding that, okay, compassion is a strong understanding inside you that I need to help this person. It has nothing to do with emotion the way we experience emotion. Emotional connect we have is like an extension of body. Yes. No, not at all. Because what do you mean by being emotional? Basically, being emotional means what? Your decisions are based on emotion, right? The moment your decisions are based on emotion, what happens? You are no more emotionally intelligent. So when you recognize emotions, then you are not deciding on the basis of emotion. You are deciding other than emotion, which emotion to deploy. That is emotional intelligence. When we say emotional intelligence, this is exactly how it should go. No, that is, yes, absolutely. That I am not saying it's always unethical. I did not say that. I am saying emotion does not mean invariably that it is compassion. You're getting my point or not? No, that's what I'm explaining. No, you no need to be emotional to be compassionate. Yes. No, you don't have emotions for the person at all. See, you understand the situation there. See, normally what happens, we are emotional people, so we get one of the expressions of the compassionate act is emotion. But that is not the basic why we do it. Your philosophical, like for example, you have emotion for the person, okay, that this person is lying, for example, this person is lying there and you feel bad about whatever, and then suddenly somebody comes, Arey sir, he is asking money for last 4 or 5 days, having drink here and lying here. The moment you hear this, your emotion is gone. Where it is gone? Because now there is no sense of compassion required here. So whatever emotion, non-emotion also, it came in your mind only after the sense of inequality and your ability, your responsibility to help somebody, that is less powerful than you. So compassion does not all the time always need emotion. Compassion without emotion also is it's possible to work. Yes. See, like for example, for that, whatever Buddha did in his whole life, he was not connected to all those people to whom he gave his everything. That was out of compassion, and that is his concept of compassion. He said, for you to be compassionate, you need to have a sense of comfort at your level. If you have sense of want, you cannot be compassionate. When you have sense of satisfaction only, you can be compassionate. When you know that I have, when you know that I am at ease at myself, spiritually, materially, otherwise. That means what? With respect to this emotion, I am at the better pedestal than this person. Then only you can compare. So the whole life of all the people. Now, Gandhiji showed compassion to all Indians that he has not even shown. He knew he is giving life to someone who is less powerful, but don't know who is. No, triggering is only small thing. And triggering, in fact, this triggering through train incidents, in fact, is used to counter Gandhi's so-called morality. You know this? You know, he himself faced only he realized. Before that, he did not realize. So he was not an ethical person. That's how people. That's how also people say that he was. He did all he did not because of he was, you know, doing it for some society or something. He did it because he himself was thrown out of this train. Obviously, absolutely. That's why we are doing this class. We are having GS for that purpose. But people, some have better understanding and faster understanding of morality, in depth of understanding of morality than somebody else. That much possible है ना? And without morality, हमारा system भी तो नहीं चलेगा. Okay, this is the quote of Socrates. Just listen and think on this. Don't write anything because it is there in 2020, as I said. A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is mere illusion. ये कोट यूपीएससी ने पूछा हुआ है, ठीक है। क्वेश्चन नंबर 6C 2020, a system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is mere illusion, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. You're getting the point now. The system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion, a thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. नैतिकता की एक व्यवस्था जो कि सापेक्ष भावनात्मक रिलेटिव इमोशन मूल्य के आधारित है, वह केवल एक भ्रांति है, इट्स एन इल्यूजन। एंड अत्यंत अशिष्ट अवधारण, अशिष्ट मीन्स लोली, वल्गर, जो शिष्ट नहीं है, जिसमें कोई भी चीज युक्ति संगत नहीं है, ना उसमें कोई सत्य है। There is no nothing sound rational in it, there is nothing truth in it. Means your relative emotional expression in the form of morality is not morality, that is your illusion that it is morality. Because why I am saying this is illusion, along with when you feel to work, because the sense of compassion that you talked about, too much emotion coming into it, it's actually coming from that wrong understanding of ethicality. That's why we feel so bad if the tiger is actually eating up the deer in front of you. However you explain yourself, you will feel bad about it. That's the reason some people try to save the deer, because that is going with the flow of the emotions which you normally have, thinking that it is compassion. Compassion is a very, in a way I would say, a rational thing to have. Unless understanding, there is no compassion. But people think that compassion is emotion. No, it's not. Okay. Morals of your, okay, seniors. Huh? Hmm. No. But question is about you. See, okay. Anybody else having any close to interpretation what he has? What do you understand by the quote? I read it 3 times. Relative emotional thing, not relative morality they are talking about. I'll read the quote and you tell me what you understand. Again, a system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is mere illusion. क्या मतलब है? Morality based on what? Relative emotional values is what? Not morality. Illusion means what? Brahma means what? Whenever you use the word illusion means it is not exactly what it looks to be. It's called illusion. A thoroughly vulgar conception of what? Morality, which has nothing sound in it, nothing true. Now, when there is a thoroughly vulgar conception means what? The word vulgar really is not mean ashleil, means ashisht. Ashisht means does not make any sense and it's not having that stature. Now you tell me what do you mean by this quote? Whenever you try to understand morality from a relative emotional point of view, you are wrong. Any other thing that quote is talking about? Now you tell me. It is not about relative morality, it is about relative emotion. Yes. No. It is not morality being relative, it is emotion being relative. Please try to understand the question. This is exactly what happens with when you don't understand the quote. They are not talking about relative morality. It is talking about emotions, relative emotions that you have, considering that as morality is wrong. Yes. You can say organization. See, in general, that's what we are. The classic example is what we just talked about. You know, when the leopard attack, wala, because we feel so much emotionally pained, but that's not ethicality, morality. That's what he's talking about. You are mistaking compassion. I am having compassion for the deer. No, you are not having compassion for the deer because it's just an emotional response to the situation in front of you. It is not ethicality. Morality is beyond emotion. That's what the quote is talking about. And it is not talking about whether morality is relative or not. Morality is one according to the code. And when you, whatever you think is morality is your illusion, that is not morality. Morality based on relative emotional value is an illusion. Means what? If my morality is based on emotion, it is not morality. It's not my morality. It's not even morality. Because you have a wrong conception of morality. That's why you think it is morality. See, I think I have my own concept of right and wrong. And here, people think that what I think emotionally right is right. No, right and wrong has to be from a rational point of view, not emotional. Now, for example, when we wrote here, we wrote talk about rational thinking. Why do you think we talked about rational thinking here? We could have talked about emotional thinking. Rational means non-emotional. इतना तो समझ में आ ही जाता है. That you have to rise beyond whatever is emotional picture that is being creating in front of you. Come out of it. So it's very, in a way, mediocre or not so intelligent, according to him. Vulgar means to conceive or to conceptualize morality as emotion, pleasant or unpleasant. Emotion is not morality, is what the quote is talking about. Morality is, and the answer, anyway. Now, coming back to this as a question in 2020 writing answer, the answer should be more about rational thinking, compassion, giving Buddha's example, how he was compassionate means he understood thoroughly that I have a capacity to reduce the suffering of others. So I have to do it. That is sense of duty. Compassion. This is the problem. We confuse compassion with empathy. Empathy is very emotional, superficial thing that you feel and then you do accordingly. Compassion needs in-depth understanding of the situation. Empathy can come up just like that. And we name it empathy, compassion. No. When thoroughly under rational thinking has to come into picture for compassion. When Buddha had compassion for those or all people for that matter, because he knew for sure that what I have can reduce your pain for sure. That's the reason he kept on giving that method to everyone. Please practice this, you will be out of pain and suffering and birth and rebirth and cycles and all that. In that context, compassion has to be understood. Because compassion means that only. Otherwise, why? The word karuna means what? Daya, mercy is different, karuna is different. Daya is different, karuna is different. We generally use daya, karuna, same. That's the whole job of having these lectures here. That's the whole job of having GS4 paper. Your understanding might be something, but that doesn't mean it is the correct understanding. Now you might say, no, that is my morality. No, see, you cannot say 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 according to me. People have put a lot of brain into the psychological and philosophical aspect of human being and then come up with this logic. So now we have to orient ourselves with respect to this logic. Even if you might say, no, I have to change my whole value system. Obviously, you have to. That's the reason why we have GS4. If I think corruption is okay, literally for all practical purposes, I don't even feel this much for corruption. No, we have to go through GS4 at least little bit. You have to feel uncomfortable about corruption. Little more than that about uncomfortable about corruption. Yes or no? See, though it is moral responsibility, we take it as a very right and wrong in the sense of black and white. When it comes to principle, yes, it is black and white. But when it comes to implement that principle, there are many other aspects. Obviously, case study is exactly the same thing, same thing, right? But by the way, this is one of the very difficult kind of code, so don't worry much about it. Like this kind of codes, not every, because the code just above it is Mahatma Gandhi's quote, which says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Don't worry कि ये ऐसे वाले कोड तो मैं कैसे लिखूंगा. Anyway, we will be having 2-3 separate lectures only on codes. So most of the codes will be covered there. How to approach the codes there, how to decode it. Because ultimately, you need to understand the code broadly. Second, dissect it and write your answer. That's all. There is a method, and if you practice on those things, you understand the basic method, and perhaps you have your own method afterwards. See, all the ethics things that we are starting off with, the answer, the format and all, this is just a starting point. If you keep on writing, you will have your own method, but constructive, not just vague method, not just for sake of different. And then, as you keep on writing your answers, you yourself will understand, and obviously you'll get understand from me also that no, this answer is better. Though it is a very different format than what I initially taught, but it is a good form. Because ethics hai, keep yourself, creative and free for that matter, right? Any question? Is it making sense what we are kind of trying to understand here? Yeah. Yes. 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 Now, when I say morality here, I am talking from the point of view of Kant that we talked about. Categorical understanding. Morality as in the core of morality. The core of morality is same for all. This is exactly what deontological morality. So, if like for example, you have your own morality, and in that morality there is no punctuality, does that make punctuality immoral or non-moral? You not having punctuality in your morality is your transitory problem. You don't understand the importance of punctuality, that's why it is not perhaps part of your morality till now. So in that context, you can say it is my morality, in that context. But don't you understand that morality is something universal? See, there is this moral relativism, moral universalism concept that we'll discuss. That time we'll understand. There are some aspects of morality that you can say it is my morality. Some aspects. But some aspects like justice, compassion, liberty, equality, or for that matter, honesty, integrity, these are universal concepts. So you cannot say it is my morality. Some aspects you can say it is my morality, somebody else will say I don't think it is moral at all. Yes. So that you will come to when we'll study moral relativism or universal. The question had come, by the way. UPSCs are this question. Moral values space and time के साथ बदलते हैं या नहीं बदलते हैं? Some say the ethics and morality or moral values, some say that values change according to time. Some say they do not change time. What do you understand, or what is your stand on this? You have to write about moral relativism. Don't use these words at all. I'll tell you how to write simply. Then you have to actually write about examples of values. Then you have to write about moral absolutism, in the sense moral universalism, not absolutism. Moral universalism. There are some universal. Then you can conclude with global ethics. करके कुछ होता है क्या? There is something called global morality. All the human species should follow this morality like that. That's new trend, right? Like, now we are coming together, we are interacting continuously. The other societies also. I mean, European, American, Indian, South Asian and all. So our morality is our moral values are getting mixed up, churned, and perhaps new morality will come up in time to come. Yes? ठीक है? Now, abhi this you already know, consequentialism, non-consequentialism. Consequentialism. What is consequence? Result. Yes. Consequentialism means it's an approach to ethics. Consequentialism is the approach to ethics as to how you look at ethics. So consequentialism means ethics would be decided on the basis of what consequences this action is kind of going to bring or bringing. So if action is ethical, if it is bringing right or positive results. If the action is bringing negative results, it is unethical. So this is called consequentialism, of which utilitarianism is one major concept. So we have consequentialism, so what is the utility of the action will decide, and who will decide the what utility, I mean what consequences is right consequences. That is selfish, absolutely selfish. What you talk about is a larger good for larger, yes, larger good or larger number. This all science people already know, right? Utilitarianism. Anybody political science? No, अभी नहीं पढ़ रहा है, अभी तो हुआ नहीं. तो यूटिलिटेरियन तो पता ही होगा, जीएस मिल एंड बेंथम एंड ऑल. एनीवे, so basically if this creates good results for larger good, larger number, it is ethical. And exactly opposite is the other view, that is deontological. Means what? Non-consequentialism also we can call it. Deontological means, yes, but no, what is the meaning? Yes, so result, the ethicality of action is not decided on the basis of what results it brings, but it's a priori sanction. A priori means it is true by its own virtue. So when we say right, here you say right for sake of right, or another phrase for this is right because it is. So here right because it is giving right result for many. Here right because it is right, just that, right because it is right thing to do, that's all, right? Now you know the example, you know this classical example of, classical to nahi bol sakte, but too much discussed example of the train and things like that. Anybody knows? Question? Yes. Yeah. This is the train. This is the direction. You are the driver or somebody who can decide to change the track. Right? Now you see some 3-4 children are playing here, and here people are working on the track. Right? Maybe you can say for confusion, more confusion, we can do one thing. This is just a simulation. The real life is not going to happen like this. Just for sake of understanding. Okay, this one person, he has been ordered, so he is repairing the track. Right? Now you are a driver here. Now you can change the direction and then stop. Instead of stop, you will stop in any way, but it doesn't, train won't stop immediately, right? So it will at least go some 500 meters and stop. No? So that is practical. So you have a choice to just stop, but on the same line. Apply brake, but don't turn. You will apply the brake. Now you cannot apply suddenly the brake also, because बाकी के 10 जो डब्बे हैं फिर एक के ऊपर चढ़ जाएंगे. यहाँ पे इतने लोग मरेंगे जितने आप बचा भी नहीं रहे. Yes, right? Many people will get killed here out back. Anyway, what would you do? So if you apply the brake, obviously, but if you turn, this person will die. He's like about to get retired. Okay, 55, 56. And here 3 young boys, youngsters, chotus basically, 6 years, 7 years. They don't know much. Like somehow accidentally they came here. Obviously, no, बच्चे otherwise क्यों आएंगे? Suicide करने तो आएंगे नहीं. Now, what would you do? Would you turn or not turn? ब्रेक तो आपने अप्लाई कर दिया, लेकिन मरेंगे दोनों भी, दोनों ही, बिकॉज ब्रेक विल, यहाँ पे ब्रेक लगेगा गाड़ी का ना. ठीक है. नाउ यू टेल मी, व्हाट वुड यू डू एंड व्हाई? यस, ओके, या. सो व्हाट वुड यू डू इफ यू आर ड्राइवर? वन बाय वन. What turn, not turn? Later explanation. Okay. Turn. Who said not turn? Yeah. Okay. Turn. Not turn. Not turn. Turn. Not turn. You turn. 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 What about others? Abhishek and online folks. Would you turn the? Okay. See, this is the train. This is the track. There are 3 boys playing, 3 children. 1 man working here. The train obviously is supposed to go here because it's going. That's the reason he is working, right? He is the trained person. Trained person, nahi, Indian Railway person. Okay. So now you have a choice either to kill 3 or kill 1, basically. If you turn, you'll kill 1. If you don't turn, you kill 3. What would you do? You are a driver of the train. So, Abhishek is okay. So most of the people turn. So now we'll ask those who don't want to turn. Why? Yes. No. Who? No, that's not an issue. You have a chance to turn. Technically, it's possible. It's a theoretical experiment. I mean, thought experiment it is. So if you turn, nothing is going to happen here because you already applied the brakes. So it is anyways थोड़ा बहुत slow तो हो चुका है. So you can turn. Okay. So what she is saying, train is anyway supposed to go here, and turning, he has already been told that you work on this. So there is order for him to work. So he is doing his duty. So there is no point in running over somebody who is doing his duty. He knew that train was not supposed to come here. And here, the children or the parents of the children, for that matter, they are responsible for being there, because train is not the track for playing, or train is not the place where parents will send their children to. Train track. So train obviously will try to apply the brake, but not in this direction, in the distance. Okay. Yes. Do you agree? Anybody else who don't want to turn? Any other explanation? Okay. No, that we already discussed. No, that is not going to happen. No, see, you are anyway applying brakes, and train is anyway going to stop. You should listen to what I am talking about. Both you applied. The only thing is Whether you apply, you will kill this person or these three. That's the question. So you said you are. Anybody else said? Who you also said? Yes, you have something else to say. So you will turn. You chose the children to kill. Okay. I thought you chose the. So you said that we have to choose between the two means positively you are talking. I thought you choose for the positive. Okay, got your point. Yes, you're yet to decide. Okay, I understand. Which is okay. See, there is no one solution. See, it's an approach. Simple thing is, let the one person who has lived his life die. He may get pension. His family may get pension. He is like about to retire. These fellows have a lot bright future. Okay, so basically, let's turn and kill, or let this person get killed. We will not kill him instead of killing three. Another thing is, you're killing three means how many lives you're killing? Three into whatever 60, 70 years into three. Here you are killing only one life, and kind of. This whole approach is utilitarian. That whatever I am going to do, how much pain it is going to create, how much uh, you know these things you are going to create. Yes. No, he has no chance. He will just वो मर ही जाएगा मर के दे तो वो तो इनको भी तो पता है ना आवाज बजने के बाद भाग जाएंगे वो नहीं वो एस्पेक्ट नहीं है यू आर लाइक यू हैव ओनली दिस मच इट्स जस्ट अ थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट राइट नाउ see somebody who says it will run over it's simple logic this is exactly what Kant will say Kant is deontological train is supposed to go on this track train is going on that track that's all rest because if I start applying my own brain and change my duty all the time here you may not know the consequence you may not know who is this person in the sense after killing this the consequences you don't even know maybe he is the person who is taking care of the 5 different children or 10 different children you don't know so why don't you just do your duty that try to apply the brakes but you cannot change the track this is deontology means I will do my duty result duty के बाद देखें no, you can see the point is you are not running on the track. You are almost applied the brakes on the track. You will stop anyway, but you will stop after killing this. See now point is normally utilitarian people will say like saving three and so many lives is better than saving one. It is a greatest good for greatest number. But here deontological will say that you are nobody to choose those things. You just do your duty and let everything be decided by situation. Now, these are two approaches to things. Like for example, somebody who, like for example, those who said, I'll turn are utilitarian, like they want to save maximum possible lives, let one person get killed, right? Now I'll tell you, you are a doctor, surgeon, you have a choice. There are 5 proper patients. One needs kidney and he will be perfectly fine, there is a family. Another person needs maybe liver or something transplant. Liver means liver को transplant नहीं होता, खुद ही grow हो जाते हैं. But मान के चलो liver transplant or some other 3-4 transplants you have. One need eyes, one need intestine, something transplant. The person will be perfectly fine like a normal person. And one person in front of you is very healthy. But he has all those parts. So to save 4, why don't you kill one? What is unethical about it? Was his choice to die? What's the law? See, this is the crux. If utilitarian is what you are liking or you think should be done, why don't you apply it here? The example that I just talked about, the doctor thing. You can convince him. At least, would you convince him? Forget about whether he is agreeing or not. वो बाद में देखा जाएगा, उसको injection देके सब convince हो जाएगा. Because you are saving 5. And that person is a criminal who has been awarded death punishment to be given in next 10 years. Like life imprisonment followed by death, like that. So you will save so much of money by paying him, feeding him in a prison. He will go through the mental agony because anyway he is going to be, mercy petition is been filed, so at least 10 years it will take. You know this, how it happens. So instead of that, execute him and so many people will be saved, youngsters. And nobody lost the organ because they were addicted or smokers or anything. By natural thing, they just damage their stomach or whatever. If it is utilitarian, why don't you think that you should, without even a slightest doubt inside you? See, we are not talking about whether law is allowing it or not. That's another story. Would you do it from inside? Is it a right thing to do? Is what we are talking. And why not? What's the problem? If utilitarian is the approach, you will have to kill the person, and I mean, you will try to save him in some other way. But how would you save if you take 4 or 5 organs and give it to someone else? But you saved 5 and 5 families. This person is anyway criminal. But you won't do it. Why? Because there you are deontology. No. It's not my duty is to save to the extent possible without killing someone else. It's my duty. Because life is my duty, death is not my duty. So saving life to the extent possible, that is my job. But killing someone is not my duty. So you are bringing in duty here, not utilitarian. So these are approaches to the deciding or concluding the ethicality of any decision. Okay. Generally, this is, I'll tell you now. That's all for today's class. But I'll tell you one thing. This just whatever we discussed now, I have never understood as to why we discuss this. Not just here or the ethical class, be it online or anywhere. Because it might be good for understanding. It might help, but it's very subtle unless you understand it properly. Otherwise, they are not going to ask train ka equation. They are not going to ask technicalities of deontological approach, who gave it, can't give it, and what is the other aspects can't talk about. They are not asking this. But I think one aspect that you can talk about, you can take away from this discussion and this deontological and this theory thing is just to understand what all different ways ethicality of the decision, ethicality of the action can be decided. Okay, and broadly there are only 2 methods. These are the same methods you apply for the punishment. There is a theory of punishment. These are the methods. Are you punishing him with some goal, or you are just punishing because he did this crime? Just punish, that's all. Crime, punishment. It's like efforts, success. So he put efforts in crime, so he has to be given bakshish. It's a positive, negative reward of the efforts that you are putting by murdering someone else, like that. Okay. So it is for sake of understanding, opening up, different things. That's how ethics works. इसके अलावा सीधा आंसर में कुछ नहीं आएगा, आंसर में बाकी चीजें आएंगी. You can give an example if at all. You can give this example if at all the question comes. You can give, but most likely theoretical question has never come. Elaborate the deontological approach through illustrious example. ऐसा कोई पूछा नहीं है, ठीक है? But फिर भी just for the sake of understanding you have as to what and how ethicality is decided. Okay. So thank you very much for today. If you have any doubt, please ask. Otherwise, see you tomorrow 8:30. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. See, dignity. No, no, no. No, no. That is see. He is bringing in utilitarian point of view for something else, but that's another debate. Like whether they are really utility or not. But whether utility has to be applied or not is another question. So dignity comes into picture when you actually, so whenever another human beings come into picture, dignity come into picture. Dignity is a very problematic thing. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Because of the dignity, everything is happening. There is a sense of self-worth, and that you cannot take away. Dignity is sense of, dogs don't have dignity, elephants don't have dignity, tigers don't have dignity, human have dignity. You cannot, but you have dignity. You cannot stop it. Kant also come, and this concept of dignity is also established ethically by Kant, because dignity is the human being end in itself, not means to something. So utilitarian पूरा खत्म हो जाता है according to Kant. But policies, most of the policies that we make, they are all utilitarian policies, because we have to make policy for the larger number. Policy का मतलब ही होता है larger number. So we'll try to have larger good. जब भी हम policy लेके आते हैं, एक आदमी का इतना, but that too without compromising his dignity, that is article 21. Article 21 के beyond फिर हम utilitarian point of view लगाते हैं. Policy making. राइट टू लाइफ एंड डिग्निटी जो भी है उसको हैम्पर नहीं करेंगे, बाकी कहीं पे भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. एनीवे, सी यू टुमारो.